I think I'm seeing double. Hi guys, Matthew here and welcome back again to my channel. After checking out few RX 5700 XT graphics cards, one from MSI and one from Gigabyte, feel free to check them out at my channel page down below. Today I'm going to check out my first non-XT GPU, that being MSI's RX 5700 Gaming X model. The RX 5700 version of the Gaming X model is basically a mirror model of its stronger brother, and when I say that, I think I'm not over-exaggerating because their weight is exactly the same in 1 gram, while putting them side by side and taking a closer inspection of their component layout and overall build from start to finish, everything really looks to be like that, so the only thing what's probably different is that they've just slapped a different GPU die on it. Although some would say that those two GPUs are also completely the same. I wonder why. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, on the contrary, it's an excellent thing, because if you consider that this cooling solution and design turned out to be more than a great pair for the RX 5700 XT Gaming X model, the card was running whisper quiet and much cooler than the reference design, some would say that it's maybe even an overkill for it. It is easy to guess the outcome where you put such cooler on an even less demanding GPU in terms of the TDP, like on RX 5700 series. With all that said, I won't go too deep into analyzing it since I already covered it in detail with my review of MSI's RX 5700 XT Gaming X model. Feel free to check it out in the right top corner of this video. You'll still get that completely new shroud, which is a first for MSI with this Navi Gaming X series, and which brings in this sleek and clean looking design, except for that red detail around the fans, which is a bit questionable. Very capable and massive cooling solution, which besides the GPU makes direct contact with the memory and power delivery system, while everything is finished up with two 95mm Torx 3.0 fans on the top and this very attractive and cool looking metal plate on the back. Again, as I mentioned, this cooler design will be more than ideal pair for this GPU considering what I've experienced with it on its stronger brother. Actually, it suits it so much so that I did my overclock by undervolting it. Yes, you've heard that right, I've overclocked my card while undervolting it. Since this is in essence the same GPU as the one they put on the RX 5700 XT series, the 1850 MHz limit which AMD imposed was a piece of cake for this amount of voltage in combination with this cooler design, as the full-grown version of this GPU found in the RX 5700 XT series goes way above that frequency, over 2 GHz when overclocked. Knowing that, I've maxed out the GPU core clock setting to that limit, lowered down the power limit and core voltage to a point where it doesn't affect the GPU core clock significantly or at all, and bumped up the clock of the GDDR6 video memory to 910 MHz, although the limit is a bit higher than that, but my sample just wasn't stable at 930 MHz. With everything set like this, the card runs even cooler and quieter while delivering more performance, but let us just first glance over the stock results before I continue checking out this fusion of overclocking and undervolting. Under full load and stock settings, the GPU temperature was anywhere around 60 to 65 degrees Celsius, so same as with its stronger XT counterpart, but with around 300 to 400 RPM lower fan speed, while the junction temperature was roaming around 75 to 85 degrees Celsius, depending on the title, usually closer to that lower mark. That's a great result by itself, no question about it, but let's check out what I got with the combination of undervolting and overclocking the GPU. Here you can see that the GPU temperature dropped by a few degrees Celsius across all of my testing scenarios, as well as the junction temperature, while the GPU core clock was mostly around the 1800 MHz mark, which was about 100 MHz more compared to the stock state. The total power draw, or to be precise the difference between idle and load state of only the graphics card, was around 10 watts with this setup, so that's around 200 watts of power consumption instead of the stock 210 watts. This got me thinking, why don't vendors make their products on the same basis, if the GPU allows it? With a good cooling solution and additional verification, they could easily tweak it that it has lower power consumption, less heat output and more performance, and voila, they would have an advantage point over their competition, but I assume that AMD wouldn't be too happy about it. Tell me in the comments down below if you think that this would be a good idea. When it comes to stock out-of-the-box performance, overall the RX 5700 series brings in anywhere in between 10 to 20% less performance compared to the RX 5700 XT series, while this MSI's RX 5700 Gaming X model is a bit better compared to the reference design since it's factory overclocked. Overall, it's meant for 1440p gaming, even 4K if you go easy on the settings, while it's ideal for 1080p high refresh rate monitors, where you will see more than enough FPS in terms of what that kind of setup needs. As for those manual overclocking rates and setup which I showed earlier, that got me an additional 5% of performance gain, which was pretty much an average result in terms of what I'm usually seeing when it comes to overclocking a Navi GPU. As I already mentioned, the card is dead quiet, running mostly at around 900 RPM, sometimes a bit above depending on the game, but bottom line, you won't hear it running in a chassis, as I didn't on an open test bed sitting right next to me. Here's a short sound clip of the card under load, while also showing you the sound meter for a measurement comparison. All in all, it's really hard to find any bad remarks about this model. Okay, maybe the fact that they've put a really modest RGB lighting on it, you only have this pretty usual MSI logo on the side and nothing more on such a big and attractive model like this one, although some of you would probably consider this as a plus, while the Mystic Light software utility for controlling it is now in its who knows what revision, and of course the version that I used with the RX 5700 XT Gaming X model doesn't work with this non-XT model, and this... what is this? But putting that aside, altogether this model is a top contender for sure. The only real obstacle in getting it lays in the fact that it will cost you a bit more compared to your average example of an aftermarket RX 5700 model, but for those who are in search for a really efficient and really quiet cooling on a Navi based GPU, this should definitely be on your shortlist. That's it for this time from me. Thank you once again for watching. Toss me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my content, that really helps a lot. And if you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe. And if you already are, be sure to press that notification bell down below so you don't miss out on a new video. And until then, catch you later guys.